the climate of Jada and Will. And just hold on, I'm not going to talk about what they've done, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, because everybody has their own life to live. That's not the point of this video. I really want to talk more about just marriage in general, because I think we all can relate to either being married, single, wanting to be married, or in a relationship, divorced, widowed, whatever the case may be. But we all are human connected. We all have emotional connections, and most of us probably would desire being in a relationship. So I really wanted to just deal with the fact that, one of the things that they said at the very end was bad marriage for life. And y'all kind of understand where the quote was coming from, but they applied it to marriage. And I think we can also see, Charlie, try to drive. We can also see maybe some people took it black and white. And some people may have taken it for just marriage is a journey. It's full of ups and downs. It's full of truths. It's full of hurts. It's full of happy times. But there are some sad times, tumultuous times, all those things. But we're here for life. We're here together. We're going to figure it out. We're going to work together. Okay, so that's what kind of the point of this this video is about. Really, the bottom line question is how much in a relationship, especially in a marriage, because marriage is more long-term for commitment. How much do you go through in a marriage, in a relationship, just for the sake of saying that you're still married? Now, I know a lot of our answers may be different, because when we're not in the situation, when things are good, or when we're single, we have a standard in which we should of what what we're going to but what our standards are. There are some deal breakers. Everybody has some deal breakers. But then I'm sure we've found in times where when we're in a relationship, and I've been married, so I kind of have some 2 cents. I'm divorced, so I probably have a couple more cents on the other side. But we always say what we will do, but then when we get in the situation, which we never want to, but when we get in the situation, we realize that we are enduring things that we probably thought in our hearts and minds that we would never have to endure. So I do understand that it's not going to be a black and white, I'm never going to deal with this, never going to deal with that, because you have love and emotions involved and entangled, and sometimes we do look outside of logic when it comes to relationships. And but I don't think that anybody will be in a situation where you come in the relationship up front saying that this is going to be an open relationship, which means basically you're giving somebody the baton to say, hey, if you can't handle it, go out there and do what you want to do. And I know people may disagree, but really, if you look at it from black and white, I mean, I don't know who else would put up with an open relationship. Now, sometimes because of the way that life is and where we are right now and what people are dishing out to us, human nature will be that we succumb to our environment, and we end up putting up with stuff that we would not ordinarily in our hearts initially want to put up with, because I think ultimately everybody just wants to have somebody that loves them, adores them, is faithful to them, and that protects them, looks out for them, and just loves on them. And I know men and women have different ways of love languages, but you get what I'm saying. And so I relate that to as a parent, even with my child or something. So just say, for instance, with birth control. I know parents have had this discussion. So the parents have an issue with, okay, if I agree to put my daughter on birth control, I'm basically condoning them having sex. Now, that's not really what the parents are saying, but there is a risk or a fine line to say, if I'm going to do this, I'm basically, in a way, indirectly, from a child's mind, giving them permission to do what they want to do. Now, let's look at it. They weren't on birth control. They were trying to be disciplined, having self-control. They fell short, blah, blah, blah. They did this and that. But they were trying really hard, but they fall. So now you say, okay, put you on birth control. Now in their minds, they're like, okay, well, I was trying really hard, but man, now I have birth control. I'm able to kind of loosen up a little bit, do what I want to do, and still, get away with it. Now, from a parent standpoint, our job is to be able to teach them, show them why they shouldn't, because we know the entanglements of emotions and all of that, soul ties and all that kind of stuff when it comes to having sexual intercourse, blah, 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 another conversation. But we want to teach them self-love. We want to teach them the reasons why to protect their body, honor their body, love their body, because nothing is permanent, and these things will leave damage and hurt physically, emotionally, all those things that comes with being premature and having sex with people that have no intent. Okay, gotcha. So we want to teach our children that, but at the same time, we're not in control of our children. So then we say, okay, we want to teach you what's right and what's wrong, and hopefully you get it in your own heart. But we know that we're not in control of you. So in that standpoint, we're going to put you on birth control. So it's almost like law and grace. Okay, stay with me for a minute. The law says checklist. Okay, you don't do this, don't do that. The law says birth control pill. That's kind of like a law, meaning I can't trust you in your heart to make the right decisions based on honoring your body, so I'm going to put you on birth control pill. That's kind of what the law says. There's a checklist of do's and don'ts. Grace says, now the Bible tells us that the law is written on our hearts, so the law is still there from right and wrong, but grace says that I'm using my heart. I have a heart to do what's right. I have a heart to make decisions that's good for me according to God's standards. So now your motivation is from the heart and not from a checklist. Okay, so God had to give us the law because our heart wasn't in the right place to make good decisions. So either way you want to do this, we got the standard. Now you can be motivational, you can be driven motivationally from your heart, which is the best way. But if not, God's like, okay, this is the law and this is what's going to happen, and here are the repercussions of those things happening. So it's kind of the same thing in a relationship. So do we go into a relationship with already condoning or giving birth control pill, or giving our spouse that open invitation to say we're going to have an open relationship? I don't think that any of us want to do that. Now, going back to the birth control, or do we say, well, I can't control my spouse, so I'm going to just give him the birth control, or give him an out to be, or not him, I'm saying him because I'm a female, but it could be the other way around, or give them an invitation. So I don't think anybody wants to do that. So it is a fine line. I think that we all really just want to be loved and want to be honored in that aspect. So that's really the point of this video, and I'm not even coming out with any solutions, but just to think about it. When we're going into a relationship, what are our expectations? Now, I had a post of Evangeline Van Zant said that she was married for 14 years, and she realized after that time that she was not loved in the way that she wanted to be loved, and she ended up divorcing her husband. And I thought it was really a good point, as far as, and she said that you don't have control over how somebody loves you, but you do have control to be able to look at that love and decide whether that love is going to be fit for you, and then make that choice based on what you want out of the relationship. I thought that was very so how many times in a relationship, and we've all been there, where we are in a relationship and you're going through tough times, and I don't say you dodge out in any situation. I think we have to be in here for the long haul. Okay, so that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you just go on out and just say I can't take it no more. I think marriage is it requires a lot of communication, a lot of honesty. I don't think that we have an open door sometimes to come to our spouses and say, one, I love you, I'm protecting you, but I have a problem, I have an issue. There's some things that I feel neglected in, or there's some things that I'm not good with. I need to talk to you. We don't want to have those hard conversations. We don't want to have that constructive criticism when your spouse comes to you and say, hey, I got a problem with this. But those conversations are needed to be able to get through situations, or that we won't have to feel like we have to resort to outside things to be able to stimulate or to be able to feel that need that we have. So marriage is hard. Marriage is tough. I'm not here to say that, it's black and white, or that a checklist is going to do it. I think we need law and grace. I know there's plenty of times we've been in situations where we love our spouses, but we looking at them crazy. Okay, we looking at them like, dude, you really don't know. Okay, to the extent of what I want to do, what I'm ready to do. But because of love and because of commitment, and you hope that all these things that you're doing will show that person your level of commitment to them, and that will draw them closer to you. All of that to say, so that, because this goes back to the question is Jada and Will, what they're doing and what they're saying, does it make sense to you? Now, we may not agree to the extent of what they are putting up with or dealing with or have accepted, our expectations. Somebody had said that when women when men get married, they don't expect the woman to change. But when a woman gets married, she expects the man to change. So right then and there, which I believe it's true, that we already have different expectations, and those expectations are not communicated to one another. So you go into a marriage with expectations that are really going to keep you unhappy. So somebody had said, and hopefully she don't, Tanya had said a really good point, that, you don't go into a relationship with expectations, because that's kind of like a sour patch for destruction. But you go in there, hold on a second. Okay, so I don't even know where I was. I'm sorry. But so basically the point is just, we're talking about expectations of our spouses and how that gets us in trouble. But okay, so Tanya was saying that no, we don't go into a relationship with expectations, but what we do is that when we find someone that we just, as together as that couple, we just find out what it's going to take for us to get where we need to be. So we're just going to find out together how we're going to do life together. And I really believe that life is about perception. I love that ideal, because you don't go in there with a checklist per se, even though we need to have standards, of course, but we don't go in the mindset of a checklist. I know this is a tough situation, because I think we do need to have standards, and I think we do need to be able to look for things in a person, because when everything first starts, we already know that's just, don't even look at that. Okay, but like, you do have to have some type of standard or checklist in your mind of what are you looking for, because you have to see how they respond around situations, and see how they handle conflict, and see how they even deal with their family, see how they deal with tough situations, because those things will tell you about the person. Now, I'm not talking about we're perfect, get out of here. Okay, gotcha. But so it's like, oh my God, so we don't have to, we should not be driven by a checklist, but we should have standards in our heart that we're looking for in a person. And then even those things are going to be blurred sometimes with the gray areas, where we're still going to love all the flaws in them, because they're ultimately a good person for you. I think in any relationship, that person should be an extension of you. It should be able to complement you, and it be an extension of who you are, to be able to add to your life. If you're spending more time dragged, pulling, trying to get them to believe in what you believe in, and trying to get them to see what you see, and trying to get them to love how you love, and trying to get them to see you, at some point you got to assess, now look, is this really a relationship, or back to what the bad marriage for life, you just for the sake of just being in the marriage, you just in the marriage to say you married, but really you ain't happy. Now, I do believe sometimes, even in my case, where we all have to look at ourselves. We can't always look at the other person, because yeah, they may have some issues, but what are you doing? What are you contributing or not contributing? Because it can also be not only cheating wise, it can be in emotional abandonment. Some people just don't know how to love. Some people will have you abandoned emotionally, and those are true justifiable reasons why you sometimes would want to venture off. I'm not saying you do. Some people do. Never condoning anybody venturing off, because if you got a problem with your spouse, let's deal with it. Let's go to counseling. Let's talk about it. Let's fuss about it. Look, sometimes let's cuss about it. Whatever. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, but don't just sit years and years and years and years and all this stuff is just being swept under the rug for the sake of saying that you married. I want to do probably like a survey anonymously, but to see in relationships, what are we dealing with, the things that we never thought that we would have to deal with? What are the tough situations? Is it really just boiled down to communications? Is it dealing with more with expectations? Or maybe the person just was not a match for you, and you thought at the time whatever you were looking for, there was a match. Or actually, what is a match? What do you look for in a relationship, in a person? What are some things that you, as like I said, a relationship should be an extension of you. So of course you have to know who you are. Sometimes we don't even know who we are. I know I'm talking fast because I hate long videos, but it's 13 minutes. Sometimes we don't even know who we are, so how can we expect to even know what somebody else is supposed to be bringing to the table? So there's a lot of layers to this relationship stuff, and but okay, my bottom line point is too, and I know I never did feel this way when I was married. I always thought marriage was for life, so it took me a long time, even after I was separated and even divorced, even really, few years, recently, really, to just come to resolve in my own heart that it wasn't permanent for whatever reasons. My ex-husband and I, we're really good friends now. We're very great co-parents, and I do often wonder, okay, well, gosh, we're doing that great after the fact. Could we have pushed a little harder, like with this whole Will and Jada thing, to be able to get through some hard situations that we just weren't able to talk about? And I found out so much more about myself after the fact, about the things that I was doing, and I was contributing to the hardship of our relationship. And I'm thinking to myself, well, dang, God, like, why you didn't tell me that before? But can't blame God. I don't know what I was doing. He probably tried to get my attention. I wasn't listening. I don't really know. And I have to, so in relationships, you have to resolve a lot of things that you thought was going to be a certain way and wasn't a certain way. But here we are at the point. But so anyway, just the thoughts to throw out there, just what is it in relationships that we're finding that we thought one way and it's ending up another way, and can things be worked out if we really tried hard enough? And then you get situations where, oh my gosh, this is so many videos, situations where people are just on different pages. You may be set in this place to go this direction and really work on it, and the other person, now your spouse, they mad and they don't want to do nothing, they tired of you, and so then one person or the other is not willing to work. And so then if you can't get both people to work at the same time, then you're just kind of like pulling each other. So I know that there's periods and pockets in relationships where you're just kind of just pulling on each other, where you're just kind of coasting through. You're just kind of trying to wait this thing out and see what the world is going on. But I do think there has to be restoration. I do think there has to be revival in any relationship. I do think that it has to come to a point where there is hope against hope. I do think that in any relationship, if you're committed to be together, you can be together. And lost another whole video based on chemistry and love, or you just basically love the person, or are you in love with the person? That's a whole different conversation. All these things make a difference, but at the end of the day, I think relationships need healing at whatever state we're in, whether you're divorced, married, single, wanted to be married. What are our expectations? What are our requirements? What are our deal breakers? And then are we going to counseling? If you're single, are we going to counseling? We go to counseling for the marriage certificate, but we need counseling, especially as our culture. We need counseling. We need to be able to talk things through. We need to be able to deal with our own emotional ignorance and our own emotional bandages that we have placed around our hearts that affect people in relationships, because we get in there, we're talking about love. What love got to do with this? I mean, ultimately, love is the key, but we got some emotional issues that we're spewing onto people that we're having to end up dealing with that we weren't expecting. And then two, we can't change people. We can't change people. Even if you can get a person that don't have no idea what you're talking about, get to a person that once they realize what you're talking about, it still takes time for change. Even in our own lives, we realize it takes a long time to change a habit. It takes a long time. It takes years. So then now you're invested in having to just kind of coast through and wait years to be able to love somebody that may be unlovable at times, but you're committed, okay? And I'm sure even in those times we're sorrowful that we say that we're committed. Come on, let's just be honest. But through that, we get through that, and that commitment continues to go on, and we 25 years later, 50 years later, I'm sure those people that have been married for 50 years and 25 years, we celebrate them, but I'm sure they have stories to tell. And so we can't just be so black and white when we look at somebody else's relationship, because we've all been through some situations where we have put up with some stuff or accepted some stuff that we would have said that we would have never accepted for the sake of love. And hopefully all this accepting that we're doing is worth it. Okay, I'm going on 17 minutes. I got to get off of here. All right, just post your opinions. I think the survey is great. We all need to be, but we need to help each other, and we need to have heart-to-heart conversations. Okay, I hope this was I'm just yapping and carrying on, but yeah, see y'all later. Bye.